Yep, 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 yep,
Hello, welcome to the Finnish Football Show. Just after the past episode, we're back again. This time we're going to be discussing what's been happening in the Veikkausliiga. Not so much on the pitch, but in the dugouts. We've had somewhat of a managerial merry-go-round, as we've called it. There's lots of managers have revealed that they'll be leaving their posts in the next few months. Some have jumped ship already, I think, and some are just waiting around to see where they can go next. So, I'm joined by the regular two. Mark Hayton's had to disappear, but I've got Mark Wiltshire. Hello, Mark.
Hey, KK.
And I've got Rich Nelson. Hello, Rich.
Boy.
Well, as all of you listeners will know, Mark Wiltshire is a massive SJK fan, so he's got plenty to say on this subject. But yeah, first of all, I think we'll probably kick it off. Well, SJK is topical as well, because the latest managerial, not casualty, but the latest managerial change is our old friend of the show, Joaquin Gomez, who's revealed that he'll be leaving Helsinki IFK at the end of the season. And where's he off to, Mark?
Well, apparently he's coming back to SJK. Although I think he would probably like us to say that he hasn't announced it. It was announced in one of the local papers, and I did send him a message, and he said, "Yeah, this was announced a little bit earlier than I would have liked." So I think he's not quite on the group that are pre-announcing their resignations. Can we call it a presignation? I'm not quite sure. I think that might be a new word I've just invented. But apparently, yeah, he's coming back to SJK, as that's what we know so far.
I mean, I personally I've been really excited by what IFK have been doing this season. I think Joaquin Gomez has done fantastically there. He's post-match videos are really great. He's, as we know, he's generous with his time. He's been generous with his time with us, and he's obviously very generous with his time with the Hoi IFK media people, because his post-match interviews are great, and the project that he's undertaken there I think it's been really good. It's great to see Helsinki IFK sort of consolidate themselves, and I think they're only going the one way. So when I read that or heard that he was leaving, it was a bit of a shock. But what's your take on it, Rich?
I mean, he was the coach, or was he the assistant manager at SJK last season?
Yeah.
He's gone there back to Helsinki, and he's done well. It's a very eclectic squad that they had. I mean, we talked last winter about what a shambles the club was in, and around their ownership and where they were headed, and under his stewardship they've really steadied the ship, and they've done well. I mean, they've beaten mostly teams below them, but that's what you need to do, and they're in the top half, and they're looking at a position in the top half of the table come the split in a couple of weeks. So it's interesting, because that had been rumoured for a while. As soon as Jani Honkavara's, I can't remember, did he announce it first or did the club? I think he announced it because the news was going to break.
There was a story came out, or there'd been a lot of contacts from the press saying, hey, he had a clause to extend and it hasn't been signed, and what's going on. And then there were pronouncements from the club and from Raimo Sarjärvi himself that targets hadn't been met and they were going to review it at the end of the season. And then Yanni kind of made his pronouncement on Twitter that I've told the squad I won't be here next season. Everyone knows where we stand now. We can just focus on the rest of the season.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we are now, is that so Honkavara is leaving SJK in probably the best position they've been in for a few years.
Yeah,
to be fair.
6 or 7 years even,
yeah, exactly, probably since they won the title.
Yeah.
And you've got Joaquin Gomez is leaving a good job, presumably to go back to SJK. You've also got Inter, the coach there, Jose Riviero, who's been there for a couple of years and got Inter back into that kind of medal spot. They're always kind of threatening that sort of second, third spot, and he has steadied the ship there. He announced a week or two ago that he will be leaving Inter at the end of the season. So again, you've got one of the bigger clubs in Veikkausliiga will also have a big vacancy in the manager's position at the end of the season. And this season, I mean, we talked about before, there've been a lot more managerial changes than normally. I mean, some years you don't get any during the season, and then all the clubs wait till the end and people move on. And Ilves sacked Jaakko Viss about a month, 6 weeks ago, and replaced him. Kortepe replaced their manager 2 months ago, and his replacement has since been sacked 2 months to the day. Gabri Ekstart, I think he's a Spaniard.
Was that today?
That was today, yeah. So he drew his first 2 games. Kortepe had been bottom pretty much all season. Well, actually, since Oulu bought a load of players. But I think he drew his first 2 games and then lost his next 6. So he's been sacked. So he's been replaced. It's one of those very weird years because Mariehamn also replaced their manager about a month ago after many months of unrest. So it's been real changes because there's been a lot of talk on social media and Footies Forum and places like that about how Veikkausliiga is in danger of becoming a division where you've got these 2 clubs at the top in Hoiko and to a slightly lesser extent KuPS running away with things. They're very much, KuPS are missing the stadium, but they seem to have off the pitch everything is lining up quite nicely. And Simo Valakari, talking SJK, has just signed a new contract extension there. So then all the rest of these clubs who are in that kind of hunt to be on their coattails are now frantically looking around going, right, we need to do something to keep up with these 2 who've got European club competition money coming in, strengthening what they're doing. And it's really, I mean, I guess they've obviously realised this is perhaps the last chance they're going to have to keep up if that's how things are. And they're really sort of chucking managers onto the carousel, as we're going to talk about. But it's interesting because obviously for years we've seen very little change, and this year it's all systems go.
Well, at least there will be opportunities for some of these managers at the end of the season. We already know there are spots coming up.
Do we? Do we see Honkavara going? Is it going to be a straight swap? Do we see him going back to Helsinki EFK, or do you think he might be interested in something else? And do you know, Rich, where the Inter Turku manager, where's he off to? Is he found something in a supposedly bigger league, or what's the story?
I haven't heard. I mean, when Honkavara said he was leaving SJK, that his was a name that was mentioned as a potential replacement at SJK. So it appears that's not going to happen now. So I don't know. I mean, to be honest, if he's that would be a step down generally if he was going to go anywhere else from Inter. So one would assume he might be heading somewhere else in Europe. But it was his name was definitely thrown around when Honkavara was on the cusp of going.
I mean, it would be interesting to see Honkavara make that return to the red side of Helsinki and see what he can do with the side that's been assembled there. But
one point about that, Keke, though, also is that quite a few young players from SJK went there this year, maybe some transferred and some on loan. So, if they've done a good job for Joaquin and he comes back to Seinäjoki, then they might come back with him, which might not help the HJK cause too much.
Yes, it certainly is an interesting one, and we'll wait to see how it pans out. But who are the other movers and shakers?
That's it in Veikkausliiga. But when you look at the Ukkonen as well, there's a lot going on there. When at the time of recording, we're going into the last round of fixtures in the regular season. TPS and Turku under Jonathan Johansson have come out of nowhere and are now second, having threatened the bottom half of the table for most of the season. They've suddenly put a couple of wins together, and they're not far behind ROPS. This again, like Veikkausliiga, that league's going to split. But you've got some very big clubs there, and if I don't know, it's difficult to see. Again, there's there's a position where I'm not sure if any of those managers who don't come up are going to be, there could be vacancies there, but it's going to be interesting. I think some of the clubs in the Veikkausliiga in the bottom half seem very comfortable with their lot. I mean, we jest a fair bit. I mean, I do about Lahti being. If you look up mid-table mediocrity in a dictionary, you'll see their ridiculous club badge. They seem happy. Their managers just signed a new contract. And Oulu, after spending a fair bit of wodge in the transfer window, seemed to have put a bit of form together. Teemu Tainio, who knows? I mean, Haka are still struggling as well, but I haven't heard much mention of him in any danger.
Yeah, while we're mentioning FC Lahti, I think it'd be remiss if we didn't mention the news that came out of there yesterday. I think it was as we record today, they've made the decision to close a part of their stadium, the area that's most popular with their most fervent support. I guess you could say they've taken the bold decision to close that area due to some unsavoury, what can only be described as racist and homophobic chanting that's been heard coming out of there. So hopefully that gives whoever's been making those noises the kick up the backside they need and makes them realise that, that's not what people want to hear inside football, anywhere, but especially inside football stadiums. So fair play to the people who run FC Lahti for taking that bold step, and we certainly hope it does the trick.
Mm. Talking of bold steps, I think that the weekend SJK's fans are gonna take action that kind of mirrors that a little bit.
Well, it's not another bed sheet on the stadium gate.
I think there could be bed sheets, but basically I think this whole situation has been a bit of a soap opera. Really, I'm not quite sure how that translates into other countries, but it's just like high drama, and I don't know. You wonder sometimes, is this stuff concocted? Like, is it just all put out there to keep the interest going and to keep selling newspapers and to keep people focusing on what's going on in the Veikkausliiga? Because first, I mean, the first thing is the story breaks that Jani Honkavaara hasn't been offered a new contract extension. Okay. All of that came out because the press were pushing and asking and lots of questions were being asked. But to me and to many of the other fans, it seems really daft that you have a contract extension halfway through the season. Like if you and the comments that came from the club were, well, targets haven't been met, and so we're going to wait and see to the end of the season if those targets are met. Well, isn't it obvious that if they're end of season targets, you're not going to meet them in August?
Yeah.
Like I don't get it. If the contract had said at the end of the season, based on performance, we will decide on another contract, then everyone knows where they stand. There's no uncertainty about that at all. And I know some fans were not convinced by the work that Jani Honkavaara has done. Personally, I quite like the fact we've had a manager in place for 2 years. And I think from that consistency comes a kind of steady progress. And that's what we've seen. And this, I don't know, the last home game was about 3 weeks ago, and there was a real buzz around the place. And the team played well, Kloppit played well, all the supporters there created a real atmosphere, and it felt like, right, come on, we're going. And then this story broke, and everything's just kind of crumbled away. And then there's been comments in the press from the club, from Raimo Sarjärvi directly, saying in brief, kind of, we have to make these decisions, and alluding to the fact that those that put the money into the club and hold the purse strings are the ones that make the decisions, and they're the important ones, and other people's opinions don't matter. I think the phrase was, this is not a referendum. So essentially, there's not a vote, your opinions don't matter. And if that's not what was meant, that's definitely how it's been taken. And the club has this slogan, Maiden Kerho, like our club. And the Kloppit has this little logo. If you look at the YouTube video stream, you'll see one of the artwork I've put there with the Kloppit logo. It's like a little devil holding a beer and a number 12 on his shirt. And the Kloppit is seen. It used to be in the match day program as the 12th man on the team sheet. Like that was a core part of the club. And now people are angry. They feel like they've been dismissed. And people have been complaining about the cost of things at the game. And these are the fans that buy the merchandise. These are the fans that go to the games, home and away, to support their team. And it doesn't feel like they're being considered that it's their club. And some years ago, the SJK fans unfurled a banner at Hoyiko, I think. There was some issue about games being played without fans somewhere in the Veikkausliiga, and they held up a banner that said in Finnish, but it read, "Football without fans is nothing." And I think we all agree that. And to demonstrate how angry as a group the Kloppit is, on Saturday for the Inter game, for the first half, everyone will see what football without fans is really about, because the Kloppit won't be there. The whole end, where the Kloppit normally goes to make the noise, will be empty for the whole first half. That's how angry people are about it. And this is not something I've organised. It's through the Kloppit group. I see this forum, I read it, I occasionally comment. I'm not instigating it. I'm just kind of sharing it with you. But it will be interesting to see how that is perceived by the wider football community, and also whether the club care about that or not.
Well, that's the only way for any football supporters to get their point across, to show the clubs or the people who run the clubs what exactly what it would be like, or what their product would be like without the noise and the atmosphere that those supporters create. And fair play to the Kloppit for choosing that form of action to show their current distrust or current disgust at the people who are running SJK. I mean, there's two sides to every argument, isn't there? At the end of the day, the people who own or are chairman of that club, they're the ones who pay Onkavara's wages. If they've got targets that he hasn't met, then they're within their rights to make those decisions. But as you say, Mark, it would seem sensible to review end of season targets at the end of the season.
Yeah, so, and let me be clear that this is not about whether the manager stays or goes. That was kind of the thing that started this process. Well, no, that was the start of the process, but it's the way that the fans feel they're not appreciated, and even kind of they've been demeaned a little bit by those comments. That's what the process is about, not about whether the manager changes.
I mean, that's the issue, really, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, most football fans know very little about the runnings behind the scenes of a football club. But then, was it Len Shackleton's autobiography back in the day where it had a blank page and said, "This is what the average director knows about football"? So then you've kind of got that, and I mean, fair enough. The SJK president, he runs the club, he makes the decisions, he's on his head, he puts the money in. There are better ways of addressing the fans' concerns by saying, this is not a referendum. It's like he's basically pushing himself into the I am Ken Bates, and I'm going to electrify the fences because you're all animals. And from what I mean, I haven't been to SJK's new ground, but I've been led to believe that it's €7 for a can of Carlsberg. I mean, that's enough for a boycott.
Small can.
Small can, yeah, small can. I mean, we're in a position. I mean, even at Arsenal, they're charging £6.50 for a pint of watered down whatever.
£6.50 for a pint. Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, for €7 for a small Carlsberg is tantamount to treason, I think.
and here's the thing. So obviously the club's had 2 tough years. That hasn't helped the coach in his preparations and performance and all of that, with COVID and everything. I mean, all the disruption there. The club needs to bring revenue in, and essentially the chairman he's a property developer. That's where he's made his money from. So at the time where the club is having financial challenges, like many businesses are, the solution to that is to build, apparently, and not build a team, but actually build a stage outside the ground with balconies overlooking it from the bars inside, and to have events there. And I think some fans also think, like, is this a football club or an entertainment complex? I mean, where's the focus? And I think that I think there's a space for both. But for you guys, as football fans of many decades now, how does this sound to you? On Saturday, before the game, there will be a band playing on this stage. It's a big stage as well. Maybe like a party band, covers band or something like that. And then in the evening, there will be there'll be an Elastinen gig. Now, he's a big star in Finland, a Finnish rapper. Elastinen will be playing a gig there. And if you have a match ticket or a season ticket, you can stay for the whole show through the evening. So in theory, people arrive there at like 4:30, watch the game at 5. Oh yeah, by the way, there's a game. There's a game of football breaking out between all this music. But the idea is to try and keep people there that bit longer, or maybe attract new people there in the evening. I don't know. It doesn't really interest me. And for me, it's not football. Like it's not American football where you have the whole kind of I've lost the word now, but the whole party before the game and tailgate party, and then afterwards, and everyone stays there forever. Like, that's not how football is where I grew up, and it's not how football is in Finland generally. So who's coming to this?
I mean, football clubs have been trying this for years, haven't they? I mean, or since 1992 at least. I mean, it just sounds like when the Premier League started and they started putting cheerleaders on the pitch at half time and all that old business. And then, and all this, get there 3 hours before, and all they're trying to do is sell their overpriced beer and keep you in there. I mean, when are these people going to realise that football fans, they want to be in the pub till 5 minutes before kickoff, and then when the game's finished, they want to clear off back to the pub and have a couple of pints and sit around with their mates and either celebrate a win or moan about a loss. They don't want to hang about, do they?
And if there's sorry, Kiki.
No, I was just going to say, I've heard it so many times. These football clubs all over the place trying to make it an all-day event. I just don't think. I mean, there will obviously be some people who are up for it, and fair play to them, whatever they like. But I don't think if football clubs are sort of gearing themselves up to be that sort of vehicle, I think they're missing their audience, or they don't know their customer, as it were. Do you know what I mean?
And I think if there's one thing that needs building at the club, it's community. Like, reach out to the community, reach out to your fan base, like get them to feel that they're part of the club, and that the time they invest has some kind of return on it, and they'll bring friends, and local businesses will connect with the club, and that you can have a positive impact in the community, and the community can help the club. But
Just on that point, Mark. I mean, and I'm sure as yourself, you're good friends with Larry, and he's been involved at SJK for a number of years, and I know that in the past SJK has had that relationship with its fans. But just on that point, I mean, it was only yesterday that former Finnish football show guest Aki Rihilahti, as he was addressing the HJK supporters there in their sort of supporter conference at the what is it, the Bolt Arena, or is it called something else now? The Bolt Arena. They Marcus Halstead was there as well, I believe, another former guest of ours. And so all the different supporter groups. I think the whole thing was arranged by Clubby Paute. Is it Paute, if I said that correctly? But those guys and Aki Rihilahti and Marcus addressed the supporters, answered questions, told them the plans for the club and what they're building for next season, a few ins and outs and what will be going on transfer wise. And that I mean, I know it's easier when you're doing well and when you're sitting top of the league, etc. But that relationship between HJK and its fans still really does sort of seem to be there.
I think I banged on to you guys quite a bit about what's going on at AFC Wimbledon at the moment, but it's not just it's a new ground. It's listening to what the fans want on a match day. It's engaging with the fans. The players are coming on to there's two different fan podcasts, and the players, the management team are coming on there. They're explaining what's going on, and everyone's buying into it. Oh, and currently after 7 games, Wimbledon is sitting 4th in League One. Like it's the whole thing. One feeds from the other. It can't all be just dictated from above. But Saturday, I guess I'll be seeing half a game, which is the same as yesterday, because the Cortepe game yesterday had technical difficulties, so we only got to see the second half of that as well.
Oh dear, Rich, what's the relationship between the fans and the sort of club owners, stroke management down at Cooks like?
I think everyone has seen the money that Ari Lahti has put into the club over the years. I mean, I'm not sure the exact figure. I mean, we're talking millions and millions of euros he's pumped in. And I mean, the only real issue with that is the conflict of interest in that he's the chairman or the president of the Palolito. But in terms of, I mean, what he's done financially for Cups is unreal. And I think in the last couple of years, their European runs have helped them to become more sustainable. And there's a big drive in the city of Kuopio to get a new stadium as part of a whole new development. And, you know, not just on the football, but millions of pounds spent there to make it a destination and residences and all that sort of stuff.
And a community facility.
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, bear in mind, this current stadium isn't that old. 25 years, 30 years, I think. But they want something that's fit for purpose. I mean, bear in mind, they couldn't play their Conference League games there beforehand. So I think there has been, I mean, in terms of the management of the playing side, it's been difficult. There's been a lot of chopping and changing over the years as well. And now that Simo is there, it seems to be there for the long haul. And I think they're looking at, you know, the club are in danger of becoming, I wouldn't say self-sustaining, but certainly running themselves a lot better. They're not relying on a sugar daddy, which they have been for a long time. And, you know, the supporters seem to be enjoying it. I mean, obviously success is a big part of that. And the last 2 years has been great for Cups. You know, they've won the league, they've won the cup, and they've had a good couple of runs in Europe. So that's always a really helpful thing. And I guess playing devil's advocate, if Asiko were threatening for the title or winning the cup, there might be a lot of people who are on the fence around which side of this argument they're sat on, who might be convinced that, oh, well, at least it's getting results. And that's how fickle a lot of football fans are, let's be fair. But I think, you know, at Cups, there seems to be generally a very good positive image that the communication from not necessarily the club, but people within the club has been really good over the last couple of years. A lot of people who are involved in that they've really got a lot of engagement. It's a long sort of baby steps, and they're not, you know, I mean, HJK are almost like a propaganda machine. You know, it's on a completely different level the way they do things, but then they've got the resources to allow that. But yeah, I mean, the issues at Asiko we've talked about before, and And it is, there is a balance to be had. And it's the same with football clubs everywhere. I mean, I grew up watching Arsenal, and when Arsenal moved into their new stadium, they did the whole stay after the game. We've got some people doing music. We've got old players coming out telling our war stories, and we're selling beer for £2 a pop. And now it's, I think even on the game on Saturday I didn't go to, they're like, please come into the shop. We'll give you 20% off. Please, we need your money. We've got to pay someone's wages. And that's, and again, success glosses over a lot of that stuff, and that's obviously something Arsenal haven't had a huge amount of, but then it could be Spurs. But it's and having been to Brentford recently, and I've seen their new stadium, and it's a very weird from an English point of view. It looks like a new Finnish ground, to be quite frank. But I think there's a lot of work to be done, and I think on and off the pitch, and mainly off the pitch, I think a lot of clubs in Finland need to get that engagement with the fans on side. Some people are so good at the engagement with the fans, they're forgetting everything else. But there needs to be a balance. And I think a club with aspirations like SJK to be one of the biggest clubs in Finland need to really get that on side. And it's something that HJK, for all their evil empire from Star Wars kind of talk, that's something they are very good at. So it's something that SJK should really be looking to do. And any time a club denigrates their fans in any way, that sort of stuff gets remembered, and it takes a long time to earn that trust back. We saw with Liverpool, was it 5-6 years ago, they looked at raising their ticket prices. The clubs had a massive, the fans got together, and it's Liverpool, but they walked out of a game early, and it was massive. It was a huge story, and the owners listened. So it's something that hopefully these kind of steps need to be taken. And if fan groups organise, and I don't know if SJK, whether they have splinter groups or smaller groups that levitate around the Kloppit. I don't know if they're big enough to have that kind of setup. But
it's not an organised association. It's a Facebook group, I suppose, and things get coordinated through there, and one or two people have taken the lead in this, and there's been debate and conversation, and the decision has been made, and not everyone agrees with it. That's to be said, or they don't all agree with the length of the sort of stay out, the boycott, but everyone's going to do the same thing to make the point.
So you've had a referendum.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't. This is not the time for. Process. This is not the time for referendums. But there has been.
Not what we vote for.
There has been a Facebook poll about the length.
Yeah. There you go, democratic process.
Yeah, something like that.
You're voting to leave. It's fine.
Exactly.
I mean, we obviously started this episode talking about the managerial merry-go-round, and we've ended it on supporter boycotts and the power of the fan. I mean, but you look across the world. I mean, we obviously know in places like Italy, these ultra supporter groups have got so much power over their clubs. The clubs simply cannot not listen to their supporters. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole politics of that, but whether you're a football fan in England, in Italy, in Sweden, in Finland, do you know what I mean? It's you deserve, you're paying your money to go and see your club. People invest a lot of time and emotion in their football club, being proud of the city that they're from, and seeing that football club as a beacon of that pride. I think they deserve to be listened to and respected at least. So I hope, and the Kloppit, whether you like it or not, they are an ultras group of football fans from Finland, and I hope that this boycott that they're putting on, first half boycott, gets the people that are running the show over there at SJK to sort of stand up and take notice of them. So thanks for joining us for this episode of the Finnish Football Show. It's been great to talk to my colleagues, Mark Wiltshire. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks for giving me a chance to vent on behalf of the Kloppit.
Yeah, put that soapbox away, and it won't be away for long. I'm sure you'll have a chance to get back on it shortly. And thanks a lot, Rich.
Thank you. I'll be telling the SJK board exactly what was said here, and they'll be giving me a wad of cash.
Well, we'll all be back soon with a review of the Helmerick game and some more goings on in Veikkausliiga and everything else that's happening right across Finnish football. But for the moment, you can follow us all on Twitter. You can find me at Kakemulari. You can find Mark Wiltshire at
Explore Finland.
You can find Rich Nelson at
Escape to Suomi.
And you can find our missing partner, Mark Hayton, at FC Suomi. You can join the Facebook group. You can look at our website, which is www.finishfootballshow.com. You can have a look at our Instagram, which is Instagram Finnish_football_show. YouTube channel. Yeah, get yourself on YouTube, search for the Finnish Football Show. And this video will be up there soon. And also drop it into your podcast player. So thanks for joining us, listener. See you soon. Bye-bye.